Hey guys, it's going to be another Tell Me Where I Am read today. So, PM me, tell me where I am in the building. We are on chapter 6. Yeah, already on chapter 6. So, chapter 6 is called Cigar Box Secrets. It's another about 10-pager. So, we'll see how long it takes me, if I have any side chat in the middle. It's different now, not having to tell you guys to be quiet or pay attention or have somebody come in or whatever. It's just not our normal routine, which is kind of sad. So, Cigar Box Secrets, chapter 6. A few days had passed and we were doing a bad job of going about business as usual. The vibe at La Cocina de Isla felt like guacamole that had turned brown and bitter. Nobody likes brown guacamole. Aunt Tootie kept mumbling to herself about how much she disliked Wilfredo. Abuela started complaining more frequently about her breathing, and you could tell it was getting harder for her to get around. This had everyone on edge. Martin was in an especially nasty mood today, and I could hear him yelling orders at the cooks. He waddled around like a hippo standing on 2 feet, and the mixture of highly perfumed deodorant and fried grease was making me queasy. As soon as the lunch shift ended, I took my bag and shoved my dishwasher shirt inside. I still had Carmen's book of poetry in it, and I made a mental note to return it to her. Poetry was definitely not in my future. I bolted out of the restaurant and went home to play video games. But guess who I saw on my way? That's right, Carmen. "Hey," I said, careful not to sound too excited. "Hey," she said. "So, had a nice day?" "Yeah," she said. "I went to Abuela's house and watched TV with her, but she was coughing a lot, so I just let her rest. Then I went with my dad to the store." 8:30, school started. "Cool, thanks for checking on Abuela. We're family, that's what we do." I can't lie, I felt a little deflated when she said that, like a cake cooked at the wrong temperature. I don't know why I cared so much, but I didn't want Carmen saying we were related. Carmen kept talking to fill the silence while I was thinking. "I like hanging out with Abuela. It's just nice to feel close to people, you know?" "Yeah," I said, thinking Carmen must really miss her mom. "It's the same thing when we talk. You and Abuela are both kind souls." Did she really just compare hanging out with me to hanging out with someone's grandmother? She sees me like an Abuela. I rushed into telling a story so I wouldn't have to think about what Carmen had said anymore. "Abuela used to take me to the beach early in the morning every summer until she got sick." "Really?" "Just me and Abuela. She would show up at our door with a bag full of beach toys, already wearing sunscreen, a wide-brimmed straw hat, and really round sunglasses. Sometimes I'd sleep in my swim trunks so I'd be ready first thing." "How cute! Sounds like fun." "Yeah, we would get to the beach before anyone else. She'd hold my hand as we picked conch shells out of the shallow water. Then I'd stand on her knees, and she'd pretend she was a jet ski and twirl me around. I haven't been to the beach in a while." "My mom and I used to do the jet ski thing too," Carmen said. "How long ago did she get sick?" "Doesn't matter," she said, then suddenly changed the subject. "Hey, when do you want to go to Wilfredo Pipo's store? We should try to go tomorrow." "Yeah, sure, but the disguises—" "What about them?" she said, arching her eyebrow. "Why do we have to dress up again?" "Because your face will be too recognizable," she shouted. "Wilfredo has been to La Cocina, and we might not be able to collect as much evidence if he sees you." "Evidence of what?" "Anything, Arturo. It could be anything." When we got home, I saw Abuela outside, carefully tending her plants in the courtyard. She dropped soil onto the ground and spread it with the cane she'd started using to help her get around. Cameron, see, I'm thinking about you. Carmen ran up to Abuela and gave her a kiss. I grabbed a pair of gloves from Abuela and got onto my hands and knees to help spread the dirt around the base of the Floribunda bush. It hasn't bloomed at all, I said. She just needs a little TLC, Carmen replied. When I finished patting down the dirt, I took the gloves off and folded them. I wiped the sweat off my face with my arm and accidentally smudged a little dirt across my forehead. Abuela handed me a white handkerchief. Carmen giggled and pointed. I think, there might be compost on your forehead. I rubbed it off and stared at it. Great. I'd smudged poop on my face in front of Carmen. Why couldn't I just be cool? Pronto, yo creo, Abuela said, interpreting the awkwardness. She keeps thinking they're going to bloom soon, I said, smearing the compost back onto the grass. But we've tried everything. A little hope never hurt anyone, Carmen said. Abuela told us about the time Abuelo had made her grilled steak with black beans, and he kept overcooking the steak and undercooking the beans. But he never stopped trying, she said. I guess watching the flowerless Floribunda made Abuela think of Abuelo. Uncle Frank stepped out of the apartment and called to Carmen. Can you help me with something, mi amor? Si, papi, she said, then turned back to me. I'll see you later. I nodded and kind of waved. Abuela noticed and nudged me forward, encouraging me to say goodbye properly. I gave Carmen a double kiss, which sent my face into a lobster boil. Now it was just the two of us, and I walked Abuela to her apartment. The first thing she did when she got inside was head to her little kitchen and make a batido from fresh mangoes that had fallen from the neighbor's tree. Every summer when the mango trees started giving fruit, the couple who lived in the building next to ours would give her a grocery bag full of ripe, delicious mangoes. Abuela would peel a whole stack and freeze them. She'd make them into smoothies for her grandkids and neighbors. I was usually the first to taste one each summer. We took 2 plastic cups and savored the sweet, pulpy, orange-colored drink. Abuela sat in her recliner, and I took a seat on the couch next to her. I put my bag on the floor and unzipped it to grab some gum inside. Abuela noticed Carmen's book in the top pocket, and before I could cram it farther into the bag, she snatched it up. She read the cover, then she glanced at me. I could barely see her bright eyes through the sea of wrinkles surrounding them. She reached for the reading glasses sitting on top of her head. That was when I noticed how gray her hair had gotten. For as long as I could remember, Abuela's hair had always been brown and tucked into a perfect bun. She always wanted to look her best. But today, her hair was a little out of place, and gray strands stuck out in several places. She flipped through the pages and smiled as she quietly read. Entonces, she said, finally looking up, este libro de poesía que hace en tu bolsa, Arturito. Nothing, I said. It's not my book. It's a friend's book. I mean, libro. Y ese friend es un amigo or una amiga? She asked, smirking. Abuela was wondering if the friend was a certain honey-eyed, wavy-haired girl who was staying in our apartment complex over the summer. I shrugged and tried to act cool. Luckily, Abuela seemed to drop it. To tell me another story. Instead, she began to tell me another story I sort of knew, the time she came to Miami from Cuba. Sabía que no iba a regresar, she said, remembering the day she knew she would not return to Cuba. I knew Abuela had come to Miami on a boat a long time ago. She told that story a lot. Tu sabes que tu abuelo escribía poesía? She asked. Abuelo wrote poetry? That I didn't know. Y le encantaba la poesía de José Martí, como la Carmen. Abuela explained that Abuelo had loved the same poet who was on the cover of Carmen's book. I think she was trying to make an embarrassing romantic connection. ¿Tú sabes cómo tu abuelo y yo nos conocimos en Cuba? She asked. No. Abuela walked over to her bookshelf and took out a large wooden cigar box. Inside the box was a stack of letters neatly tied together with string, a few pens, a watch that didn't work, and a folded envelope. Oh, jeez. Aquí está la historia de tu abuelo y yo, she said, and handed me the dark brown box that smelled like earth. When I looked at it more closely, I realized it wasn't just a stack of letters. There were also photographs, an old CD, and blank stationery. Abuela looked at me. She pulled the loose strands of her thin gray hair back into a bun. Then she sat down in her recliner and told me to take the box. The box, she said, was the story of how poetry had helped bring her and Abuelo together. Abuela squeezed my hand, winked, and smiled. Lo más importante, Arturito, she said, es el amor y la fe. Love and faith are most important. What does that even mean? I tucked Abuelo's box and Carmen's book of poems into my bag. I kissed Abuela goodbye and walked to my apartment. That's when I checked Twitter and saw some DMs from Brennan Mop. At Pitbull for Life. What up, bro? At the ubiquitous Mop. Here, good sir. At Pitbull for Life. Dude, every time I see your handle, it weirds me out. What does it mean again? At the ubiquitous Mop. It means I am a ubiquitous mop. I am present and found everywhere, cleaning the world. Pitbull for Life. You're so weird, dude. At the ubiquitous Mop. Says the guy who, with a life-size Pitbull cutout in his room that he talks to every night. At Pitbull for Life. He's my rock, bro. He gives me strength. At ArtZam3. Guys, Abuela gave me this cool cigar box from my abuelo. At the ubiquitous Mop. Intriguing. What's in it? At ArtZam3. A whole bunch of letters, photographs, some blank pages, and a CD. At the ubiquitous Mop. Have you read any of the letters? At ArtZam3. Not yet. I'm going to get some rest. Carmen wants to go check out Wilfredo Pipo's store tomorrow. At Pitbull for Life. Dude, let me go with. Been dying to get my hands on some fresh new threads. At ArtZam3. Carmen kind of wanted to do this as an undercover thing, just the two of us. I waited for them to respond. Finally, both Mop and Bren's messages popped up at practically the same time. Pitbull for Life, all caps. Oh, yeah? At the ubiquitous Mop. Interesting. At ArtZam3. Not like that. Good night. Bren sent a whole bunch of kissing emojis, and Mop joined in with hearts. Very annoying. Carmen and I were just two friends checking out what kind of store Wilfredo Pipo had. Nothing else. Then Bren gave me advice on what to wear. I had no interest in dressing like a rapper, but that would have been better than what I ended up wearing. And that, kids, is the end of chapter 6. Here is my challenge for you today. So tell me where I am, but I'm not giving you anything for it. But tell me where I am. And then the other thing is I would like you to make an inference. 7th and 8th grade, we talked a lot about making inferences this year. So an educated guess about what disease you might think that Abuela has. It becomes more important later in the story, but he's talked about like how she can't breathe, how she's using a cane to get around, and she coughs. So give me, make an inference, okay? So an educated guess about what disease you think Abuela might have. So tell me where I am. Actually, let's do this. If you do both these things, so if you can correctly guess where I am and you can make an inference, let's go with favorite snack and drink next year or when we return to school this year. If we get to come back to school or next year, I will write it down and I will give it to you. So favorite snack, favorite drink, If you can tell me, give me draw an inference about Abuela, and tell me where I am. See you tomorrow.